So we're going to continue with your notes from Math Book page 19, Find Unit Rates. When the fractions of a complex fraction represent different units, you can find the unit rate. So we have examples. Number 3, Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. So we're going to write the rate that compares the number of miles to hours. So 3 1/3 miles divided by 1/4 hours. Step 1 is to write the complex fraction as a division problem. So 1 1/3 divided by 1/4. Second step is to write the mixed number as an improper fraction. So 4/3. That fraction comes from 1 1/3. So 1 times 3 plus 1 gives my numerator of 4 divided by 3. So 4/3 divided by 1/4. Step number 3 is multiply by the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4 divided by 1. So 3/4 times 4 divided by 1. The next step is to simplify. So 16/3 or 5 1/3. So Josiah jogs an average of 5 1/3 miles per hour. Let's take a look at number 4. Tia is painting her house. She paints 34 1/4 square feet in 3/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? Rate a ratio that compares the number of square feet to hours. So, number of square feet to hours. So 34 1/2 divided by 3/4. So that's how they got 34 1/2 square feet divided by 3/4 of an hour. So step number 1 is to write the complex fraction as a division problem. So 3/4 1/2 divided by 3/4. Next step is to write the mixed number as an improper fraction. So that's step number 2. 69 halves divided by 3/4, because you do 34 times 2, which is 68, plus 1 gives you 69. Then step number 3 is multiply by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3, which is in red. 69 times 4 is 276. 2 times 6 is 6. When you do 276 divided by 6, that gives you 46. So that was your step number 4 to simplify. So Tia can paint 46 square feet per hour. Okay, you got it? Let's do these problems to find out. Letter E. Mr. Ito is spreading mulch in his yard. He spreads 4 2/3 square yards in 2 hours. How many square yards can he mulch per hour? So this portion right here, square yards can he mulch per hour, that's the type of ratio that we're going to set up. So I'm going to do my work for letter E up here. Oh, sorry. Wrong button. All right, letter E. We're going to take 4 2/3 and divide it by, 4 2/3 square yards divided by 2 hours. So going back and checking out my steps, my first one is to write the complex fraction as a division problem. So 4 2/3 divided by 2. Okay. And step number 2 is to write the mixed number as an improper fraction. So I need to change 4 2/3 into an improper fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So that's 14/3 divided by 2. I'm also going to put this 2 divided by 1 to make my integer into a fraction. So step number 3, multiply by the reciprocal of, well, for example 4 was 3/4. This one, we want to do the reciprocal of 2 over 1, which is going to be 1/2. So 14/3 times 1 divided by 2. So you have two options. You can just multiply across and you get 14/6, which is reduced down to 7/3. Or if you had 14/3 times 1/2, you can cross reduce. So I can take a 2 out of 2 and 14. and that leaves me with 7/3 times 1/1, which is 7/3. So you can leave your answer as 7/3, or that also equals 2 1/3. So I'm going to write my answer down here, 2 1/3. Sorry, rereading what I wrote. How many square yards can you mulch per hour? 2 1/3 yards per hour. Okay. Then for the next one, letter F, Aubrey can walk 4.5 miles in 1.5 hours. Find her average speed in miles per hour. So I want to put my miles on top and I want to put my hours on the bottom because it specifically says miles per hour. So I have 4.5 miles per 1.5 hours. So step 1, I'm going to write my complex fraction as a division problem. 4 1/2 divided by 1 1/2. Step 2 is write the mixed number as an improper fraction. This time I have two mixed numbers, so I'm going to have two improper fractions. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 halves divided by 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3, so it's divided by 3 halves. Step number 3, multiply by the reciprocal for the second fraction and multiply. 9 halves times 2/3. Again, you can multiply across. That gives you 18/6, which is reduced down to 3. Or you could have had, if you started at 9 halves times 2/3, you could have also cross-reduced. So I'm going to show in a different color. Ooh, I didn't mean to erase the 2. My apologies. You cross out these 2's and those become 1's. 9 and 3 go into each other, so 1 and 3. So I'm left with 3 divided by 1 times 1 divided by 1, which equals 3 divided by 1. And lastly, that is 3. So that means find her average speed in miles per hour. She can walk 3 miles per hour. Okay, let's continue. Example. On Javier's soccer team, about 33 1/3% of the players have scored a goal. So let's write 33 1/3% as a fraction in simplest form. You'll see that we start off with 33 1/3%. And that equals 33 1/3 divided by 100, because percentage is always out of a total 100. It's kind of like when you take a test or a quiz, it's out of 100%. So the step 1 for this one was the definition of percent. The next step. So this step number 2 is to write the complex fraction as a division problem. So 33 1/3 divided by 100. Then step number 3, write 33 1/3 as an improper fraction. So 33 times 3 is 99 plus 1 is 100. So 100, my apologies, divided by 3 divided by 100. Then we want to multiply by the reciprocal of 100, so this is step 4. And the reciprocal of 100 is 1/100th. So 1 divided by 100. So 100 divided by 3 times 1 divided by 100. As you could see, they cross-reduced and they took 100 out of each of them. And they got their final answer as 1/3 after they simplified. If you would like, you can also solve it where you have 100 divided by 3 times 1 divided by 100. And you can multiply across. That's 100 divided by 300. That reduces down to 1/3. Again, same exact answers here as theirs, just a different way of approaching the problem. Neither of them are incorrect. It just is whatever you prefer. So about one third of Javier's team has scored a goal.